we always like to acknowledge that Royal Roads University lives, learns, and works on the traditional lands of the Kusepsum and Lekwungen families. There has been a long history of teaching and learning on these lands, past, present, and continuing on into the future, and we are very respectful and fortunate of our place within that now. We are here today to chat about our graduate certificates in coaching. So here at Royal Roads University, we have a graduate certificate in executive coaching, as well as a graduate certificate in advanced coaching practices. My name is Selena Kunar, and I'm an education advisor here at Royal Roads University. And I'm joined by Dr. Zoë MacLeod, the Associate Vice President of Professional and Continuing Studies, who will tell us much more about these two exciting certificates. Someone else who is on the call that you may not be able to see on video, but you will definitely see in our chat box is Lisa Murray. Lisa is part of our enrollment team and will be helping out by popping helpful links in our chat box and answering any questions that may come up as well. So thanks so much for being with us today, Lisa. Before we launch into the program overviews, we'd like to give you a quick snapshot of Royal Roads University. We're very fortunate to be on these beautiful lands, which include Hatley Castle, a variety of curated gardens, such as the Japanese gardens you see here, and to be surrounded by water as well. So here you see our Esquimalt Lagoon. While we have such a beautiful physical presence, we always like to highlight that online learning is within the DNA of Royal Roads University as well. We have over 25 years of providing online learning, and that's really in line with our learning and teaching model, which allows us to not only have the pedagogy to be creating these life-changing classrooms online, but the technical capacity as well, which is very important in these COVID times. So we'll talk a little bit more about what online learning looks like in these programs and how we're able to create a unique learning environment online. So with that, I will pass the microphone over to Zoë to tell us a bit more about the Graduate Certificate in Executive Coaching.
Thanks so much, Selena, and welcome everyone. Thank you for your interest in our graduate certificates in either executive coaching and or in advanced coaching practices. I hope that you're all healthy, safe, and able to enjoy some of what feels like fleeting glimpses of summer as we head into the fall season. Especially if you're in BC, it's a beautiful sunny day here today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Graduate Certificate in Executive Coaching, and then we'll move into advanced coaching practices. Some of you, if you're interested in the advanced coaching practices, may already be alumni of the Graduate Certificate in Executive Coaching, and that would be helpful to know. So if you are and you're an alumni of the program, feel free to put that in the chat as well, and we'll learn a little bit more about you as we go, and I might draw on you from some experience in the program. So Selena, I think you're driving, so if you can go on to the next slide, that's great. So for those of you who are thinking about the executive coaching program, you'll know that we have another exciting offering coming up in January. For those of you who know, we usually run this program 3 times a year, usually September, January, and May. And what an amazing, if not opportune, and maybe a little bit tricky time to be exploring how to help people think through some of the challenges that we're facing in an organizational lens. So the current situation, this global pandemic, surely gives rise for reflection and reviewing priorities and assisting people to move towards their true potential, which is really what executive coaching is all about. As many of you will know and likely have encountered, the last few months have been extremely taxing. So it takes stamina, courage, and increasing resilience to step into leadership roles, never mind manage people, processes, and even panic during a pandemic. So there are seldom opportunities, and those of you who are thinking about coaching and might be in more of a management or leadership role, seldom opportunities to talk to others in a safe space and think through how to move forward when there is so much uncertainty. Coaching is just a prime profession to be able to help people think in partnership with about some of these challenges. So we're going to explore a little bit more about the program itself. So on the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about all of the courses that are part of the program. You'll see that it is a 9-credit graduate level program. 3 main courses, and usually take 6 to 7 months depending on the offering. So depending on holidays, etc., it might stretch out to 7. But realistically, we're going to be exploring and learning how to master the skills and competencies required to become an executive coach. And thinking about what leaders and organizations need right now, what are they going to need in the future, some of that unknown, what's going on in organizations where people need coaching. You're starting to see more internal coaching happening, more coaching cultures being created inside organizations. And we're going to explore what you need to do and who you need to be in order to coach others. So from a high-level perspective, we're going to be looking at how the world of organizations are shifting and what it takes to help people create and foster coaching cultures within their organizations. We all need to be better collaborators, communicators, and foster creativity inside our organizations and help people learn how to do that. So the big questions that we need to grapple with are, how can we help people lead teams and systems in new and different ways? Doesn't leading virtual teams have a whole new perspective right now? So we're going to be looking at the skills you'll need to help people transform teams, systems, and cultures in this new digital world. And we'll want you to bring your own context with you so that the learning is relevant for you. So you might be in healthcare or education, hospitality, or whatever sector you're coming from. People are going to need you to help them think through their next steps. And it may look a little different in the future. We don't quite know what that's going to look like yet. So with this program, first and foremost, we're focused on the executive segment of the coaching client marketplace. It's a graduate level program. We have, when you finish the program, you become a certified executive coach. And of course, we already have, and some of you might have shared this in the chat already, roughly around 1,700 alumni from the program. So as you'll see here, the program is made up of 3 courses. The first one is normally delivered in a blended format, and in January it might also be blended as well, except for that the blended might look a little bit different. There will be some asynchronous work, and then likely, and we haven't confirmed this yet, so if you're registered for the program and we haven't shared this with you, we're still in the decision making, but likely we're going to be moving to a virtual offering of the first course as well. So we have just finished 2 virtual residency weeks with the program, and the feedback has been impressive, so we know it worked, and we're confident that we'll be able to move forward in a virtual way. You're essentially led by a core faculty team who have decades of national and global experience as corporate executives, educators, trainers, and facilitators in the private, public, and non-for-profit sectors. So you'll find access to their experience. They are all certified by the International Coaching Federation at the highest level in that first course, and it's a full 6 days of a virtual residency. Whether you're on campus or whether you're online, there is 6 full days of virtual programming that you will need to clear your calendar for. And so that first course, which is called Best Practices in Executive Coaching, is really focused on just that. Best practices and leading practices in executive coaching. Of course, the profession is emerging and changing, and we're learning more about it as we go. But really, that first course, you're really introduced to your team, the foundations for team-based learning, the framework for executive coaching that we use, coaching principles, concepts, skills, and leading practices, as I mentioned. You're going to focus on applied learning, demonstrations, the practice of coach skills, which this program really focuses on practice. You're going to actually coach other people, and we're going to have lots of conversations about that. So that first course is really pretty intense. When it's finished, you will sleep. We then jump into 2 online courses that have weekly real-time webinars once a week for about 90 minutes or so. But the delivery will be more asynchronous. So you're going to be able to work through the course at a time that works best for you. And then also, of course, you're going to have some teamwork and a lot of coaching practice. But in that first course, we're really going to focus on the foundations: self-mastery, powerful questioning, observations and feedback, some assessments, ethical guidelines, What does it look like around values, vision, and mission for those who are working in the coaching arena? And then finally, we'll move into the 509 course, which is also asynchronous, but does also have a weekly webinar. And really that will focus on the context for executive coaching, really much more about what does it look like inside the organization, coaching issues, evaluations, understanding systems, leadership coaching, and coaching cultures. So in essence, that's a snapshot of the 3 courses we'll focus on. If you are an alumni and I've missed anything that you think I should have said, please feel free to share that in the chat. But in this essence, you're really only scratching the surface, right? So we know that the intent of this program is for you to go with a great ability and understanding of yourself, your clients, maybe current clients, future clients, and how organizations and systems need to thrive in order for you to be able to support them as an executive coach. So on to the next slide, Selena, thank you. That was a long time to be looking at that slide, sorry everyone. Essentially, the program is an accredited coach training program. I'm actually on the coach training board for the International Coaching Federation, and so we're always looking at ways to ensure that the coach training organizations are adhering to best practices. You need to require 125 coach learning education hours. You will exceed that in this program currently. And as mentioned, it is a 9-credit graduate level course, which can also be transferred into other programs as well, which we'll talk a little bit about. Let's see, what else do we need to know about that? So as part of an accredited coach training provider, this might be of interest to you, we need to have a master certified coach director of training. You will have 10 hours of mentor coaching. We have to go through a performance appraisal and evaluation from the ICF. And all of this to say that this program as well will transfer into a master's degree. We have a Master of Arts in Executive and Organizational Coaching program that is in the works. It's been approved by the university, and we're just waiting for the green light from the provincial government. So we'll hope to see that soon. I'm sure they have lots of other things on their list at the moment to work through, but we're on the list. So we'll see where we get to. Right, so that's a quick snapshot of the executive coaching program, and certainly one of the reasons that we have a graduate certificate in advanced coaching practices program is because the alumni, and some of you have said, we want more. They wanted more breadth and depth and contextual learning in more nuanced ways. So for example, on the next slide, I think the course lists are there. Essentially, we can skip to the next one too, Selena. The next one, this one really talks a little bit about what the courses are. And so you can imagine as you're going through the foundational program, you might be wanting to do a deeper dive into group and team coaching. Especially now, are you thinking about what's going on in the world today? There is an increasing need to understand intercultural competence and what's going on across the globe. So the recent shift to virtual has really opened up all kinds of opportunity for those who are interested in coaching across the world. Creating coaching cultures, a really deep dive into creating coaching cultures inside organizations. Advanced coaching psychology, and of course professional mentor coaching. So some of these courses, and we have a couple of other ones in the works as well. In essence, we design the program so that you can take them individually if you've completed the coach training already, so either our program or another coach training program somewhere else, and are interested in either continuing your learning or even potentially gaining continuing education hours for the International Coach Federation as well. So lots of opportunity for continued learning there. You can take one course, you can take 2 courses, you can take 3 courses, you can take 4 courses, you can take 5 courses, but in order to receive the certificate itself, you need to take 3. Over to the next slide, Selena. Right, so as I mentioned, realistically, these courses were built as what we might call supplemental courses that would help people also continue on with their coach education credits. So that's kind of it for a quick snapshot of the program in essence. As I mentioned, you can certainly take courses individually in the advanced program. In the foundational program, you can transfer the executive coaching program up into a number of programs. They're listed here, and there's probably others that may be coming on board. So lots of opportunity to continue learning should you want to. And then, of course, we really hope that you'll transfer the learning into the new Masters in Executive and Organizational Coaching once that comes on board. And back to Selena to talk a little bit about how to, and then we'll get to the questions and dialogue.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Zoe. So yes, please keep the questions coming. We have some wonderful things stacking up in the chat box, and we're just around the corner to our question and conversation, where we'll get into answering some of those questions. But before that, as Zoe mentioned, we're going to jump into a quick how-to. So to start, we'd like to let you know the program admissions for each of these certificates. So for our graduate certificate in executive coaching, standard admissions is the completion of either an undergraduate 4-year degree or something comparable, or a graduate degree in a related field from a recognized post-secondary institution, as well as normally 3 years of relevant full-time work experience. Here at Royal Roads, we also have something called flexible admissions. So flexible admissions is a wonderful opportunity for those folks who may not have a traditional academic background, but have spent many years working in the field, obtaining that experience. So for flexible admissions, applicants would normally require at least 5 years of relevant full-time work experience. And we like to highlight that flexible admissions is assessed on a case-by-case basis. So if you've heard something that's piqued your interest about these programs, and standard admissions might quite not match your background, please do connect with our offices, and we are always eager to start a conversation and explore how flexible admissions could apply to you. For our advanced coaching practices certificate, our admissions criteria differ a little bit. So for our standard admissions, it still requires a completion of an undergraduate 4-year or comparable degree, or a graduate degree in a related field from a recognized post-secondary institution. It also requires normally at least 3 years of full-time work experience as an internal or external executive coach, but has the addition of requiring education in the field of coaching. For example, the Royal Roads Graduate Certificate in Executive Coaching, or an acceptable alternative. So for this program, flexible admissions requires at least 5 years of relevant full-time work experience as an internal or external coach, and again, education in the field of executive coaching. Then we have a note at the bottom of this slide for those folks who were interested in the Advanced Coaching 680 course, Professional Mentor Coaching, as part of your selection for the Advanced Coaching Certificate, and noting that folks must carry a minimum PCC credential awarded by the International Coach Federation. However, this is not a prerequisite for admissions into the program itself, as students may choose not to enroll in this course. So again, if you have any questions about what flexible admissions could mean to you, or questions about these program admissions in their entirety, please let us know. So how to apply? Your application process begins with your online application. The online application includes a fee of $126.28. And once that application is in, we then look for some supporting documents. On this list, you can see that we require official transcripts, a personal statement, a detailed resume, and 2 letters of reference. Our website is a wonderful resource for moving through your supporting document process. For example, Our website lists some questions that you can look at answering in your personal statement. It also provides some helpful tips and tricks as to how you can structure your detailed resume to ensure all of your accomplishments shine bright. If you have any questions about your supporting documents, let us know. For example, COVID-19 has changed how official transcripts may come into our offices. Right now, some institutions are providing online copies, and those are accepted at our institution. But we recommend connecting with your sending school to identify how they're moving through the official transcript process right now. So upcoming intakes. As Zoe mentioned, we have an exciting intake coming up for our executive coaching that begins January 11th, 2021, putting its application deadline at October 11th, 2020. And then if you're looking to plan a little further out, we do have our dates for April 5th and August 30th of 2021 posted as well. If you're looking at applying to our graduate certificate in advanced coaching practices, that program begins January 11th as well, putting its application deadline at October 11th. This is a great time for me to mention that here at Rural Roads, we accept applications on a rolling basis. So that means we're not waiting until October 11th to take a look at all of the applications that have come into our offices. What we do is once your online application is submitted and your supporting documents, we're able to then adjudicate your file and let you know of your seat in the program. So what that means, particularly for executive coaching, if you're interested in starting April 5th, January 11th, or August 30th, one of those intakes works best for your schedule, we recommend getting your online application and the majority of your supporting documents in sooner than later so we can ensure you have a seat in the intake that works best for you. Financial aid. So our registrants were able to ask some questions when they sign up for our webinars, and we got a lot of questions around financial aid. So we wanted to make sure that we provided you with the website and telephone numbers of our financial aid and awards office here at Rural Roads. This office is staffed with specialists who have their fingertips on both internal and external resources that are available to you to help support your academic journey in a financial capacity. So if you have any questions about things such as loans, awards, research scholarships, or any other types of funding, please connect with our financial aid and awards specialist, as they'll be the one who'll be able to help navigate that for you. Speaking of folks who can help navigate your exploration of the programs here at Rural Roads, we have our enrollment services teams. So Lisa is one beautiful example of the teams we have here at Rural Roads who are always eager to answer any questions about these programs or any others on our campus as well. So if you'd like to chat with Lisa and her team, you can find them at learn.more@ruralroads.ca. And if you are joining us internationally, you can connect with our international team at learn.more.international@ruralroads.ca, as they'd be happy to continue the conversation. With that, we have come to a close on the slide portion of today's presentation. But what that means is we've rounded back around to all those wonderful questions that have come up in our chat box. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing my screen and take a peek at our chat box and see what wonderful questions we can jump at answering. So some of them we have answered as we've moved throughout our session today. So looking at this here, Zoe, are you able to tell us how, if at all, does executive coaching differ from organizational or individual coaching, as other programs may call it?
Sure, Selena, thank you, and thank you for the question. When we created this program in 2001, a long time ago, almost 20 years ago, the program was intended to serve those who wanted to become external executive coaches. So those who would be working with a leader inside an organization, but they were outside of that organization. much has changed. We, in the last, I would say 4 or 5 years, we've started to see coaching become more accepted as an internal offering, and you'll start to see that many organizations are actually setting up internal coaching programs inside their organizations as well. So realistically, we're kind of talking about individual versus organizational. We're doing both. We see both of those students coming in who may be interested in being external coaches who may be internal coaches inside organization as well. What we want to teach you in the program is how to be a good coach, whether you're internal or external. Many people who are coming to the program now are even coming with no desire to be an internal or external coach, but really looking as coaching as a competency for their own leadership. So, starting to see more and more of a variety of internal and external folks coming in.
Wonderful. We have another great question, Zoe. So one of our participants would love to learn more about the coaching scenarios and work they will do. Will there be both group as well as individual coaching?
Yeah, you will have seen from the slide that we do a lot of practice. So you're going to do and be part of and coach a tremendous amount, both with your colleagues in the program, but also outside of the program as well. And you'll be required to, at least get 40 hours of coaching in throughout the program as part of the programming. So lots of individual coaching. You will likely be doing some group coaching practicing, but it won't be the main focus. And that's one of the reasons why we created the group and team coaching course in the advanced program, because we recognize that is a tremendous area of growth and focus for the profession right now, but we want to be able to make sure that you get the skills you need to be able to really focus on the coaching first and move into group and team coaching. So there will be some, but it will be more focused on the individual.
Speaking of the advanced certificate, is there a time limit on completing the 3 advanced courses if one is interested in that certificate?
That's a good question, Selena. University policy probably tells us that there is. I don't know what that is at the moment, but I would imagine it would probably be 5 to 7 years. So you've probably got time. And yes, I saw another question about those courses moving into the master's degree as well. So when, I'm crossing my fingers, when the master's degree gets approved, the executive coaching certificate program is actually the first quarter of that program. So it actually is, that part is required, unless you're coming from coach training somewhere else, and then there's negotiation and all kinds of other things to explore. But the advanced courses will also be part of the master's program, either as core or core course, required course, or as elective courses as well. So lots of opportunity to continue those on if you're interested to carry through.
Very neat. We have someone wanting a little more information about the executive coaching 500 course and how that'll be delivered during these COVID times.
Yes, well, for those of you who have been through the program, you might try hard to imagine how we would have recreated that experience. It's a pretty transformational experience to come to campus and learn together with your colleagues for 6 days. And in fact, so challenging to try to think that through, we actually deferred the April intake to September, not knowing what was going to happen with COVID. And so we actually ended up with a double cohort in September, and we've just run through 2 virtual back-to-back 6-day residencies. We split them up and they just went through, and I can tell you that it worked. The faculty are phenomenal. The tech team was amazing. We used Zoom for that process, and I just had a note from a colleague that was in the program and said it was the best week of her life. So it worked, which is fantastic to hear. We haven't officially announced that yet, but it's very likely that January's offering will also be the same. So that part of the course, the 6-day residency, is likely to be delivered virtually as well. So the program itself is likely to be fully online starting in January as well. And we'll wait and see how that shapes up for the next offering after that.
Chatting a bit more about that executive coaching cert, Zoe, is there a specific designation that one receives upon completing that program?
Yeah, there is. So when you finish the executive coaching program, you actually become a certified executive coach, and that's a designation that you can put under after your title. It's a Royal Roads designation. But then you can also carry on to the ICS designations as well. And so, you know, you're set up to become ACC, which is accredited coach certified coach, which I actually hold that designation as well. Too bad I can't say it out loud. And so you are prepared for that designation as well. You have to do a few more hours of coaching in order to achieve it, and then you can move on to PCC and MCC after that.
We have a question here. Previously, RRU partnered with Dalhousie to offer a Halifax intake. Is that an option?
Yeah, so we have run our program at Dalhousie twice now, and certainly another opportunity moving forward, although at the moment we wouldn't be, there wouldn't be any advantage because not with Dalhousie, but we went to Halifax and actually delivered it there. So currently we're virtual, and so for those who might be on the East Coast, it isn't an advantage for you to take the program through the Halifax offering. But you know, as we consider what happens with COVID, we'll look to continue our relationship with Dalhousie as well. Realistically, the Dalhousie folks were hosting us more than anything, so they weren't involved in the curriculum or the actually delivery of the program. They simply hosted us at Dal.
Not sure if you're able to answer this question, Zoe, or if it's better for Lisa in our chat box, but Karen's wondering if there's still space in the January 11th intake of this program.
I do know that there is still space, but we're getting close to deadline, and usually the program has a wait list. We did have a wait list for the September offering, even with a double cohort. So we know that there is interest, and especially for those who are thinking about, I don't have to travel now, is a good time to be able to get on board. So there is still space, but I know it's moving fast. And if you're thinking about it, think fast.
And we've had some wonderful questions about the cost of this program and how payment works. So perhaps, Lisa, I can ask in the chat box, if you haven't already, which you may have, my apologies, Lisa can pop in the payment schedule for both of these programs, and that'll give you the firm dollar amount, which I don't want to guess off the top of my head, as to what these courses cost and what the payment schedule looks like. So keep an eye on the chat box, and that'll pop in soon. So we had a question about the executive coaching program, and can that program be done over 1 year?
Yeah, and the answer is yes. I mean, we do run it 3 times a year, and it usually, again, given holidays, etc., takes about 7 months to.
And then, oh, a great question. How much time should I budget once I'm in this program?
As much as you can, or all. No, I mean, the program is pretty intense. For those of you who have been through the program, you'll know that. There's a lot of interactivity, and of course, because we're wanting you to practice, you know, immediately you've got 40 hours to try to figure out how to get some folks coached, and on top of the coursework. So, you know, we do say most of our graduate level programs are 10 to 15 hours a week. I'd say it's probably a little bit more, but it is really about your own time management as well. And so for those of you who can go down a rabbit hole it is really about making sure that your priorities and your time are allotted, and you can only give it as much as you can give it. So we have a saying in academia that even bees get degrees. It's not necessarily about how much time and effort you put into the coursework. It's about getting what you need to get out of it as well. So sometimes you just won't be able to put in as much time as somebody else, and you start to learn how to skim articles and how to read articles faster and how to divvy up time amongst your colleagues and learn in a more collaborative way and resource your time appropriately.
Speaking of making use of time, we had a question from Rebecca, who was accepted into the program. So congratulations, Rebecca, but was interested in switching to an earlier session. So Lisa had provided some information that when you're offered a seat, you have the option of selecting an alternative intake. So if any of you find that you're in that boat, please email admissions with an S at royalroads.ca, and they'll be able to help you navigate either moving to an earlier session or perhaps deferring as well. We have a question here that I'm going to guess is in reference to our program admissions. So Deborah's asking, what does relevant work mean?
For the most part, when we're looking at people who would be ideal candidates, we're looking for you to understand, maybe have had some experience in a management role, understand what the context of organizational life might look like. If you're thinking about moving into to become an executive coach, how are you already ready and set up for the understanding of this work? And so that's what we mean by relevant work. But realistically, in this world and in this profession, that could be a number of different things. And so we actually will work through your application on a case-by-case basis. And if we have questions, we'll ask.
And then another great question, do you also offer facilitation courses?
We do. We offer lots of facilitation courses. Actually, you can find those on the Professional and Continuing Studies website. We actually have an advanced facilitation certificate that people can take. Lots of opportunities there. I'm sure Lisa can pop in pcs.royalroads.ca in the chat line there, and you'll find lots of other opportunities for additional course content there.
And then from a content perspective, what models or principles inform our use coaching framework?
Well, that is a good question. We certainly draw from a number of models, and in the programming you'd see that yourself when you get in. We do use the accelerator framework for the program, but what we want to make sure is that you're not just sold on one model, because every organization is going to use different models, and as we know, so most models are wrong. Some are useful. So it's really about context of the organization, and really we use a model to ensure that you have one to work with and practice from. And it may be the one that you carry with you for the rest of your coaching profession, and it may be that others use the GROW model or others use different models. So, we really want to be thoughtful around making sure that you are really thinking about new and different ways of coaching as we expand. But we do use one in particular for the program itself. But we'll talk about lots of others as well.
And then another great question, do you anticipate keeping the advanced courses available as standalones for graduates of the executive program if you do not get the go-ahead for the master's, i.e. if you choose not to do the full master's?
Yeah, so those courses we will make available to those that are interested, so they'll stay open. We'll see emerge. If you decide to take one of those courses, you would join in the master's with the master's students as well. So lots of opportunities there. And if you chose not to do the full master's, of course, we want you to be able to continue your learning with us as well. So lots of opportunities there. And of course, as we move forward, we may be developing new and different ones that make sense for the relevance of today's work.
And this is a bit of a tougher question, Zoe, but for the April intake, do you anticipate that being face-to-face?
Oh, I wish I had a crystal ball, Selena and Ella. I don't know. You know, we just don't have that information right now, and so we wait and watch to see what happens with the pandemic. And you know, I know right now, even if we said we would be online and or face to face in January and or April, will people come to that session? There's a lot of you know, concerns around travel, etc., as you know. So I don't know yet. We hope so, and yet we'll watch to see how it goes.
And then Arlene, you had a great question around the dates for the 1 week intensive in January. So if anyone's interested in when that intensive period falls for the January intake or the April or August, Lisa's popped some links in our chat box that'll connect you right to the program schedules. Alternatively, you can email Lisa and she can provide you that information as well. But if you're looking for that right in this moment, I'd recommend heading to the website and going to the program page. When you scroll to the bottom, you'll be able to see all of the different offerings by date. And within that, you'll see that we have our program schedules embedded. So that'll give you an idea of when each course falls and that intense period as well. That was a great question, especially for programs such as executive coaching that are so wonderful and having a few different intakes. Our prospective students get the opportunity to align that intensive period when may work best for you. So definitely take a peek at the schedules and see where that'll fall. And then a follow-up from Lisa about the opportunity for continuing in the January intake, and that yes, there is space available, but that we are currently over halfway full. So if you are interested in being a part of the January start date, as I believe Zoe mentioned, think fast. Oh, we have an interesting question here, Zoe. Does curriculum dig into the psychology of coaching at all, i.e. rooted in neuroscience or the why of it all?
Yeah, it absolutely does. We will spend some time there. Of course, even just thinking about who you are and how that's connected to how your own brain functions, even how you got here to this decision and the profession. We're going to explore a little bit of that. We do spend more time on the neuroscience of it when we move into the two online courses. Mainly because we're pretty packed in the first one, but we will spend some time there. So definitely. And then, as you will see, we have an advanced coaching psychology course where we will spend a lot more time looking at that. But definitely, we'll dig in.
A great question from Karen, which may be better relayed to Lisa. Is there an expectation that the letters of reference be from academics, or can these be from the workforce as well? So I imagine Lisa is likely typing, so we'll give her a moment while that answer comes in. But speaking of Lisa and her typing, she was able to quickly look up the residency period for a January intake. So that will fall from January 25th to January 30th, 2021. So thanks so much for that, Lisa, and all your quick typing behind the scenes. With that, it looks like we may have come to the end of the questions that were posed in our chat box. Though I see many folks are still online and listening in on our session. So if there are any other questions that may have come up for you, please pop them in the chat box, as this is a great time for us to go through those together. While people are noodling on if they have additional questions they want to cover in this session, I'll highlight that this session was being recorded and will be sent out to all the folks who have registered. So you may not have questions now, but if you'd like to rewatch the session or pop into pertinent points, please do. And then connect with our offices, as we're always happy to continue the conversation. Looking at our chat box, I'm seeing lots of thank yous and highlights that this was a very informative session. So thank you to all. And Lisa has popped back in with an answer to our most recent question. So normally we receive professional references, but as long as they can speak to your potential for success in a graduate level program and in the coaching context, she believes they'd be acceptable. So thanks so much for that, Lisa. Zoe's popped her email in the chat box as well, so please do not hesitate to reach out directly to Zoe at zoe.macleod@royalroads.ca. And then we have more words of thanks coming in as well. So with that, I believe we have come to the end of the session today. So a big thank you to all of you who took the time to spend your morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you're watching from. And to those of you who are watching the recording as well, a big thank you, and we look forward to chatting with all of you soon. Bye-bye.